recommend you do this, kid. Bye-bye. That's right, kids. I changed the marker lights out already. Now, as much as I hate Jeeps, these are Jeep marker lights. They're not OEM Jeep marker lights, they're aftermarket, so it's not a Jeep part. So I didn't screw up my truck by putting Jeep parts on it. These little marker lights are for a Jeep, and I thought they were pretty neat. They fit up great, okay? They're smoked lenses, so when they're off, you can't even tell they're back there. Have turn signals built in. Drive lights, which I have there. I drilled small holes in the grill and put bolts in through them, so they're bolted to the grill on both sides. And our LED smoked side markers came in. Also, the back of the bed size came in. The wheel arches I ordered, now they're a bigger patch than what is on here. This dent we will have to tackle, which I'm okay with that. But this whole wheel arch, I'm thinking this patch panel comes up to about here, so I'm not sure if all of this is going to be taken care of, but most of it is. You know what? There's no putty up there, so it's going to take care of all of this bad section here that is putty, and then down here where we're rotted out, this comes the whole way down around. The new piece that I'm getting will be right up against it, comes the whole way across, but it's see how this patch ends right here? This new one I'm getting comes the whole way down to the bottom of the bed, which is gone, rotted. New bed sides for this were going to cost me, with shipping and everything, $2,200 to $2,400 to get them here. These patch panels cost me $215 shipped to my house. So I saved $2,000. Now I'm gonna have to do a lot of work, but I saved $2,000 by just getting patch panels. These marker lights were like $35. So were the other ones, but I don't like them. The new wheel spacers were like $80, but they're only 1-inch wheel spacers. Now the old ones were 2-inch, and yes, it looked good with the spacing wise. The back is tucked in, so it did kind of look awkward as opposed to the back, but we have a lot better spacing now, and I don't have to worry about cutting and modifying near as much. Now, we did cut this lip here and you know, reinforce it and stuff like that, but we should have no issues with the tire hitting anything now. As you can see, I had to do a little bit of a modification on this to make these fit. The hubcap, the center nut cap, I had to flatten it out so that the center cap would still fit. And being that these were only 1 inch, I had to grind about 1/8 of an inch off of each stud just so the wheel would sit back on the spacer right. Now we have to run spacers on this because we need adapters. So they're not just spacers, they're adapters. As you can see on these old 2-inch, these big boys here, you can see the holes are way off. That's because this brings it down from, these 2-wheel drive C10s have a weird bolt pattern. I think it's the same as a Jeep. They're like 5 by 4.5, I think. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly. But this brings it down to a 5 by 114. which is a typical size, which is what these wheels are that we're running. So that's why we need adapters. But we're going to get into this later because I got everything I need to make the bike rideable. And we're going to do that in this episode. So let me go over some parts because I already put one thing on. I got adjustable handlebars, fully adjustable, said would fit the VFR800, CBR600, everything of the same year, fully adjustable ones. These clamps are extremely tight. Even though it says it would fit, they didn't quite fit the way I thought they should have fit, so they were very tight. I had to really gap that to get it down around the fork, but we got it on there. Then my next task that was a problem was we had to drill a hole so that the throttle would stay in place, which I may have made it a little big. I don't think that's going to be an issue. As you can see, that's not going to be an issue. We were having problems with the throttle sticking. Now, let me go grab the other bar. So here is the bar that came off of it. Yeah, pretty nice, isn't it? We had to cut the bar weight off because obviously it ground the end of the screw off. We couldn't get to it, so I just ran. That's why I had the grinder over here, ground that off, and then got the bar off. So that's what was making our throttle stick. Now that we have this one on here, we don't have a problem. I need to get the other bar on. One other problem I had with this bar was the master cylinder did not want to sit flat on the bar because this clamp was too big. So I got this little grinder and made a flat notch on that clamp so that this master cylinder can sit flat. Now I think we're going to have the same thing with the clutch cylinder, master cylinder here. So I'm going to have to probably shave it again, but we have that. Next, we need to weld this. I'm going to do that here in the shop. This is cast aluminum. A lot of people say you can't weld cast aluminum. That is not true. You can weld cast aluminum. It's hard. So I don't know that I can do it. But I'm going to make an attempt at it instead of buying this whole foot peg that's going to be a couple $100 to buy. So these are made to save weight. So they're hollow across the back. And they're pretty thick aluminum. But we're going to notch this on both sides, clamp it together, and I'm going to weld it. And we're going to fill this in as best as possible. This brake lever right here, to buy a brand new one, was $120 everywhere I looked. I bought this whole used brake master cylinder here. I don't need any of these other parts. I don't. I just need this lever. But I got it for $60. So I got this brake lever for half the price, and I got more parts because I didn't want to pay $120 for a brand new one. So we got that. This is the other handlebar end. I still have to work with that. Our clutch springs, bolts, and get a new gasket because I figured we're taking this all off. This gasket's going to get messed up again. So we just went ahead and got another gasket. So we got to drain the fluids out. We're going to get the side cover off, get the clutch all back together and in. And then we got to do the bar and the brake lever. And I believe, don't quote me, but I believe we're going to take a ride on this thing today. Oh, I got new grips too. Forgot about that. I don't think I'm putting these on right away because I don't have grip glue. And I don't like to put grips on without grip glue. So I got to order that. You know, like, it sucks when your grip starts sliding and you can't keep it from sliding. So why I'm not putting them on yet. We'll get to it though. Okay, so as you saw me do there, don't miss any parts, okay? When you put this back together, you shouldn't have any spacers or washers or anything like that left over. I have a couple extra spacers, but that's because the inner hub that I got had the spacers in there with it, and I kept these just in case. I'm glad I kept them on there because I can't remember which way these go on. One of them's like concaved. It's a spacer that goes like inside of the material plate on the very first one. You put that on first, then the material plate goes on, and that puts a little bit of pressure on the steel plate that's right after it. And then there's a spacer on the inner hub there before you put that big nut on. And then the big nut has a spot where you hammer, you get a chisel or a pointy chisel like this, and you stamp it, and it locks that nut in place. And then there's a bearing, and there's a push plate there that goes on the end of that rod. So now I should be able to push the clutch, and you should be able to see that plate move in and out. So let's check that. That also feels really good. Oh, it feels so good. Yeah, baby! Yeah. So you can basically see how that works. That rod pushes out on this pressure plate that is being pushed back by the clutch springs that are in here. That inner hub, which is this piece, and this is what broke on mine. As you can see, all those standoffs are broke off. That's what these bolts go back tight against. So that's why we couldn't use this, because there's only one, and that's not going to work for your clutch. But whenever that pushes that off, that allows the steel plates and the friction plates to separate and lets them spin freely opposed from each other. This outer hub and this inner plate right here will spin differently from each other. So now I'm glad I got a different gasket, because I put a little bit of sealer on this one, and I felt it, you know, they're very thin gaskets on top of that, and I felt it pulling whenever so I don't really want to reuse this, but I'm going to put sealer the whole way around this time with the new gasket, which is inside of here. As you can see, all the parts I got were OEM Honda parts. Don't mess around with your motorcycle. I don't even think they make aftermarket parts like that. I'm sure they make different springs, but the bolts and hardware and stuff like that, I just like OEM. That's just the way to go. So I'm going to clean this up some. Make sure there's no debris in here. I did have to clean this outer plate because there was some debris, which this was open to the outside when that gearbox or when that side case was messed up. And as you can see, it did scrape the outer part of this pressure plate, but that's cosmetic and that's not going to harm how this thing rides. So let me clean everything up here and get my dowels on. See how there's one right here. Get my dowels in place. Don't miss those things. That's what helps you line up everything. Clean this, clean that, get some sealer on here, and we'll slap this back together. Okay, so before we go and throw oil in this thing, gonna let it sit for a little bit. We have sealant on there. Give it time to set up a little bit. But while that is setting, I need to do the oil filter. I'm gonna put a new oil filter on. We're gonna put the drain plug back in with a new crush washer, and then we're gonna do the other things that I need to do. So we're gonna put a new rear brake lever on. We're gonna weld the foot peg, and we're going to get the other bar end on, which I'm going to have to modify like I did that one. So you guys can watch that. So I only had to do it once since we already did the other side. Then this thing, it should be ready to ride. I might throw the side cover on too. And I'm not going far. We're not going for a full-on ride and review and stuff like that. No, we are just going to go around the block. This thing does need a little bit of tuning. I can tell that a couple cylinders are leading other ones. When you hit it partial throttle, it just has a hesitation, and that normally means that your throttle bodies need to be synced up. That's not how much gas is going in, it's how much air is getting in there. The throttle plates need to be synced. I did order a synchronizing tool. You normally use that for carburetors and stuff, but also works for throttle bodies. So we're going to synchronize the linkage and stuff like that. So then it should not have that hesitation. We'll get into that later. Right now, I just want to make sure this thing's rideable. I did straighten this peg out a little bit, and I have not touched that frame section there, but we have plenty of time to get into all that. So where is the oil filter on this thing? I don't even know. Do you guys know where the oil filter is? I don't see it. Son of a... So most bikes make their oil filter accessible. I have not found it yet. So I believe it's under this side cover. So alright, so I found it where it's supposed to be. Right up in front, right inside of there. This is tight spaces here. All your coolant lines come together right there. I don't know how you're supposed to get onto that. But we're gonna do it. So let me get my wrench out and I'll try to snake it in there and get that loose. Alright, next thing I want to attempt is welding that foot peg. We are going to have to preheat that metal. When it comes to cast, I was told... It's a bit nipply out there, is it? It is. Anyways, preheat your metal. So I have MAP gas, and I'm going to heat that aluminum as much as I can before I start welding. I'm also going to groove the metal, and we're going to weld the most from the back side, but I will weld from the outside too. We can grind it down afterwards. If it doesn't look the best, it doesn't matter as long as it's functional. So, and it's also going to be easier to do all of this together while we have that off. We can also put that foot brake on there, like I said. And if anybody needs a master cylinder for one of these, a rear master cylinder, I have one, because all I wanted was that lever. And that was the cheapest option. Buy everything. yeah, so all of that work, and then I'm like, it was deformed, and I still welded it, which is what I shouldn't have did. This needed to bend upright. As you can see, this brake lever should be on there right, but it's hitting here because of how much of a twist there is on that. Now, I can still ride this the way it is. It's not gonna break off, which I need to take back off and put the master cylinder and everything back on. But, and I should still have brake. But that's just not right. And I'm gonna end up buying this peg. I'm gonna see if I can find it used. I'll get online. But yeah, I said you can weld cast aluminum. You can. It's just probably not gonna be as strong as it was. I stood on top of it and tried to get it to bend, and it just snapped very easily. So all that time I put into that for nothing. So I'm gonna go ahead and button that back up together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go to the handlebar, get that done, get oil on this, because I think it's starting to get dark out. So I might not even get to get this ride in today. I might have to do it tomorrow. But let's go. I'll finish this, then we'll start on that bar. So here is our upgraded handlebar. That's gonna go on the fork. Then this is gonna go down through it, clamp in, and this goes through it and clamps in. It's a bunch of clamps, which you would think would not be as safe. These are billet. They're very nice. Like I said, I'm gonna have to shave some probably to make that clutch cylinder fit, but we're gonna do it. I did order weights, bar end weights, have not received them yet. Also need to see if I can take the ends off. Another thing you have to do is drill a hole. There's a pin that holds the throttle. I'm wondering if there's a pin that holds that in place. So now you can see how painful that was to get them on there. Yeah, they fit this bike, not really. So now, if you notice it here on this handlebar, there's a hole in it right there, and that's for a pin in those light controls over there to fit in. So it doesn't matter where you drill it because you can spin the bar around. So only thing is you want to have it at the same distance from the end of the bar here. So if you can see this, where's the end of the bar at? It's not right out there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this weight off and try to slide the grip off so then I can drill this hole in the right place, and then I'll come back and we can put this together.
Oh, behave.
That actually looks pretty good. I think I nailed that. I did not have to mill this down on this one. It cleared. It's touching, but it cleared. And as you can see, it's on there tight. It's not moving. Like I said, I hit this must be closer to the clamp. No worries. I raised them up about as far as I can go. I don't want to go too much further up because they should have made these longer, these drop downs. But regardless, they are raised up higher than they were from the factory. I think I have them adjusted where I want them. Actually, I haven't even sat on it, so let's just sit down and see. Yeah, I actually like that. That feels good. You can move the bars out. You can go wider. You can go closer. Wider is going to give you easier steer feel. Closer, it's going to give you a tighter steering feel. Like it turns quicker. It's more precise when you have them in. When it's further out, your turns are slower. It's not a huge difference. Whatever you feel comfortable with, that's the way you ride. So I need to get oil on this thing. I didn't put any weight on that peg. I'm going to make sure I don't do that. So that's the only thing we have left is some oil, and I'll throw the side cover back on this thing. And I might take a test spin tonight, but I'm not going to be able to record it because it's dark out. So yeah, I know I'm using pliers. Couldn't get that off. So let's put some oil in this thing and fire it up with the clutch in it for the first time. That little bit of hesitation I was telling you. I'm gonna let this thing warm up, but if you give it a little bit, you can hear when it clearly picks up the other cylinders, but just very light throttle right there. It's not picking up, and then right there it picks up. We can fix that, and we will be fixing that, but let this warm up, and I'm going to take it for a little spin. I'll let you know how it feels, and then tomorrow I'll actually get footage. So yeah, we'll get it more into this tomorrow, but the clutch works, it rides, and it actually rides well. Now, it definitely has a hesitation down low, like I sensed when it was idling, and I give it a little bit of gas. So like I said, we will take care of that. But the fans kick on, well, fan kicks on. I was like, I didn't feel a fan on that side, I felt one on this side. There is only one fan. So I brought this light up in here to look at it. It's up in there. I just got this light. I pushed the button one time, and look at the button. It's like, hey guys, you want to go fishing? Oh, you can definitely hear the electric fan. Just turned it off, but let me turn it back on. It draws it in from the side. And guys, there is a low beam bulb in there, and it's definitely blown. So yes, this does have dual low beams and dual high beams. I know some people were like, no, that's how they are from the factory. Why would they put a bulb in there if it doesn't work? I'm just saying. I can see the filament in it, and I can see that it's blown. On this one, I can see that it's connected. But at least we know this thing runs and drives. And I mean, we knew it ran, Now we know it drives. Now it's just simple things, tune up, not simple things, but paint, you know, that's pretty much it. It's paint. I got bar ends that control whenever it comes in. That was $120. That was the cheapest I could find, and it's on back order, so I don't know when I'm getting it. So that's nice. Very, very nice. But that'll set, right now the foot brake is usable, but that'll set it out right. It'll put this foot peg right where it's supposed to be. It's usable right now, but you know, we want to get this stuff right. Oh, and a subscriber hasn't made it here yet because he's shipping it from the UK. Has one of these cans, and he said he's not using it, and he's sending it to me for free. So, I mean, I feel like I'm obligated to send him some unwrecked stuff, so we're going to have to do that. But that's awesome. Now I don't have to worry about getting that patched up, and it's still not going to look right. We'll have another one. We'll keep that. Maybe if we do a build down the road, maybe there's something we could slap that on. Who knows? Alright, so this morning, feeling a little froggy. I got back from the gym and I was like, I'm going to tinker with these throttle bodies on this thing. So I found some things out on this bike. I mean, it's a common mod, but it's commonly used when you have a power commander. This bike doesn't have a power commander on it. I can't find one anywhere. So I'm saying they're not. So they had the pair valve blocked off. They had a marble in the one line. This is common, okay? And then you're supposed to block off the vacuum line to a flap that's on the intake for the air box. The filter was really dirty. The flap was disconnected and wedged down, which normally they just disconnect it and it holds it down. So, yeah, there's that. So I got in here and started messing with throttle bodies. Common thing on bikes with multiple throttle bodies or carburetors or whatever, they have linkage that links the two together. I don't think these were out of sync. They could be a little bit. I was messing with them, but it's not making any difference. What I think the problem was, the back cylinders were leading the front cylinders because the throttle cable comes straight down to this throttle plate right here, which directly runs the rear cylinders. Then there's a cable that runs back that drives the, where the hell does that even go? Nope, I'm wrong. Anyways, I adjusted this and it made a difference, but there's linkage down here. I'm going to have to mess with that again. There's linkage down here and there's an adjustment on that. And I think the rear cylinders are leading the fronts, but I'm gonna have to mess with this now because I think I adjusted them wrong. So anyways, here's where I'm at. I just adjusted it now. There's an adjustment down there on that throttle. I was adjusting this, that was wrong. Down there is part of that throttle plate. Now you can hear So I still think there's adjustments to be made, but I think that's a little bit better than what it was. There's the marble that was shoved in the pairing valve there. And then the air filter was dirty. Not only that, they left that seal in from the original filter, which you don't use when you put a K&N in. K&N was dirty. I cleaned it, as you can see. But this thing has the seal built into it, so you don't need that seal. So they had that smashed in there. And then the flap valve here, they had that disconnected on the flap and pushed down. And then they had an Allen wrench shoved in the vacuum line that goes to that. So I'm going to hook all of this back up the way it's intended. Since there's no power commander on this thing, so there should be no need for this block off that they did. So let's see how it runs now after this. It seems like it's more responsive, but really to get the true feel of this thing, you need to disconnect. There's vacuum line right there, and there's one on that one, on all four of these throttle bodies, and you hook up gauges, and then you run it, and you adjust your adjustments here on the linkages to get the same amount of vacuum pulling through all four cylinders. This is going to be your go-to reference cylinder because there's no adjustment on that one. So everything's going to be paired to what this one is. So that adjusts this one to this one, and then these two pair those together, and then you may have to go back and adjust them all until you get them all synced in the way they're supposed to be. A little dirty in there, not too bad. I'm going to wipe those down real quick before I put the air box back on, and then we're going to get to it. Try this. I don't have this grip on, it's just sliding. I don't recommend you do this, kids. So there you go, folks. It's actually a very pleasant ride. Surprisingly, you don't feel the dents in the rim. Like I said, I had another bike, and I hit a pothole, and I had dents just like that in my wheels. You cannot feel that. It's surprising, especially for how thin these wheels are. They're not like car wheels. So you would figure you'd feel it, but you don't at all. And that even at high speed, when I was in Mexico, it was pretty good. But actually, I mean, I guess I got that pretty close because it seems right, the tuning. I mean, it's pretty close anyways. It has a small sputter to it, but I mean, honestly, it's nothing you can even complain about. I mean, that's probably better than it was from the factory. So yeah, other than the foot peg, and I don't know what else is broke. I got some hardware missing, and I ordered a mixed hardware kit for this thing. It's pretty well sorted. I mean, it runs really well, and it's a fun bike to ride. It's very fun. Not to mention the thing sounds fabulous. So if you like this video, smash that like button, consider subscribing, drop me a comment. You digging the motorcycle content? Maybe you're not. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's my channel. Hit that dislike button if your mom's VTEC just kicked in, yo. We'll see you on the next episode on Wrecked. It's 2:30. It's a little bit late for you to not be a jerk right now.
Oh, don't worry.
Oh, I know. Oh, you gonna be cute right now? Yeah. How about your sissy? What are you doing? Do you want to say bye-bye for her? Do you? Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.